Payday is here, the check is in the mail.
Start gunning.
Check, we're on.
I'ma run them. I'm Smooth C, founder, member, and commander-in-chief of the VCP crew. Honorary member at MHS. Head TWD in charge. Known associate of Fruittown Brims, the East Coast faction.
The Fruittown Brims?
Twice 9-7, the righteous experiment. And if you can comprehend that science, peace, G.
You're in the right place.
And that's my DJ, Buster Slim Pickens. Slimming down. He's another 6 pounds down this week.
Feels like it.
Where's?
That's because of the garlic sauce.
Yeah, the garlic sauce clear you right out. We are here. We have a huge show today.
Massive.
The list, we're not going to get through all of the things.
No.
And I know that that's going to be a fact, but that's all right because if you like what you hear this week, we're here every Monday doing the damn thing. Where's it at? Boom.
It's up on my end, so now it's on you. You turn it up on the...
I got to turn it up somewhere.
You've been up here for like an hour and 15 minutes.
That's,
you're a little bit of prep.
It's very true. Victor, where is he at?
Victor's here?
No, God bless.
Come on, man. Turn the volume
Louder
up,
then.
man.
I'm up all the way.
There we go. All right, so
No,
now
God
we're
bless.
situated. There we are. God bless. Welcome to anybody who's here in the chat. Victor, what's happening? Any of the other boys who are in the building, hello. So I've been doing a lot of pondering about life recently, right?
You got a lot coming up, a lot of adjustments coming up, so I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, so things are like this morning. So I'm at the gym. I'm doing my 4 a.m. workout situation, and I'm on my way home from the gym, and for some reason, all of the cringeworthy things that I've done in my life have popped into my head this morning. And I did some foul things.
Sure.
But I've also done some things that were just like, that you're a loser, dude. I know it's hard to tell by me sitting here in this brand new Lacoste t-shirt, crisp out the pack, and this lumberjack polo 5-panel, but it's true that I was once really a loser.
You come to that conclusion that like you would have never been friends with you when you were younger.
Well, here's the other. Okay, there's a lot of things to unravel here, right? When I was young, and I started getting locked up,
right?
I thought those dudes were cool.
Yeah.
Right? I thought like the dudes who were locked, like, oh, these are like these are the bad dudes.
Well,
these guys are the illest.
Yeah, it's like it's not on purpose, but like that's how we're raised. Is like the outlaws are the cool people.
Yeah. However, the guys who I was locked up around weren't outlaws.
Right.
They were delinquents.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm locked up with...
You weren't with Jesse James.
Guys who are catching RICO charges. Although, have I ever told you about the time I was locked up with a guy facing a RICO?
Oh, I thought you were going to say you caught a RICO.
No.
What was his Italian last name?
That's what So this is what happened. Okay. Let's go to the third layer deep before we get back to the first thing I talked about.
We got a big show.
We're digging.
Let's go.
What do they say? What do the rap battle? Let him cook.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Let him cook. Do I gotta let him cook?
No, you do not.
Nah, but I got this.
I only drink 151 from passion. No Chris.
I'm a thug. I don't like flashing. So I get pinched for some regular dirtbag stuff that I would get pinched for.
Sure.
I.e., a dirty urine or failure to appear.
Repercussions from repercussions from repercussions.
Exactly. I'm already 17 levels deep into repercussions without ever really having a serious charge.
Right.
Right?
There was one charge 20 years ago, and then everything just keeps
and I
chaining
just
off
couldn't
of that.
escape the matrix. So I get pinched. I walk into Gloucester County intake pod, and they throw me in an intake cell. Whatever. I'm sleeping it off because I'm out in the streets wilding.
Right.
So the first couple days, I got to sleep it off.
Right.
When I, start moving around, I got a bunkie.
Okay.
And this bunkie he's a stocky dude. He's built like you're built now.
Okay.
Stocky dude, maybe like a little more like a linebacker rather than a pretzel maker.
Gotcha.
Right? Mid-30s, early 30s, something like that. I was younger. I was early 20s, so he could have been 33, and I just felt like he was 40, 38. I don't know. In his 30s somewhere. So I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? What's up? We're talking. Where are you from? I'm from Trenton. I'm like, oh, yeah, you know so-and-so and so-and-so? He's like, oh, yeah, so-and-so is my cousin. I'm like, oh, all right. So you know the guys out on Perry Street. He's like, I'm from Perry Street.
Well, there you go. Now you got friends.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay. I never met a guy from Perry Street I didn't like. I met a lot of guys from Trenton I didn't like.
Right.
There's a lot of wild gangbangers in Trenton whose sole purpose is to be a gangbanger and cause trouble and kick up dust. And a lot of those guys are just that with no intellect and personality behind them. The guys who make it to the next tier of gangbanging usually have some intellect and you have a conversation with them, you talk about some stuff.
They have a little charisma.
Yeah, but the bottom tier gangbangers, they're a rough bunch of guys to be around if you're not with the shits.
They're your frontline thugs.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of those guys in Trenton, and I don't dislike them, but I don't want nothing to do with them.
Right.
But the second tier is a lot of those guys who are all right. You know what I mean? Now, this guy's from Perry Street. So I go, oh, you know Reek Rue then. Oh, Reek Rue's my cousin. I'm like, all right, we can get along. We're good. If that's the kind of people that you are,
right,
then you're good in my book. Reek Rue's an old 5% dope dealer from, he's turned his life around. He's a phenomenal father, and he's doing the right thing now. But he moved a lot of drugs through the state of New Jersey. And he got caught, and he did his time.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling on anybody.
No.
So I'm talking to this guy, and we're chatting. He's like, hey, I smoke cigars. I'm like, okay. I was a little taken aback by that. He's like, I like to, sit in my study and read and smoke cigars. I'm like, okay.
A little cognac with a slice of pear in it.
I'm like, all right, you're a real refined type of gangbanger, huh? You're one of those refined gangbangers. And I start he had a lot of charisma. He was a charismatic, intelligent guy. And I'm like wondering, what's up with this guy? Like, the pieces aren't coming together. If you're an old gangster from Trenton, the drinking whiskey and smoking cigars in your study, and you've read the list of books that we discussed was as long as any literary discussions that I had. Don't ask me for a literary discussion today because I've spent all that knowledge,
right.
And
those
laying.
Brain cells are gone.
It's in a holding cell somewhere in Camden County.
Right.
That knowledge has left me. But I at one time was a very well-read gentleman. The conversation starts coming up where he says something about his charges.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever. He's like, they had to put me down here, from Bergen County.
Okay.
And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Now I'm starting to think, like, maybe this dude's telling.
So
Maybe they're moving you for your own protection.
Why doesn't that make sense? Like, why does moving you here from Bergen County stick out to you?
If you get charged in Bergen County,
right.
you go to Bergen County Jail.
Okay.
You get Bergen County Court, and then they sentence you. And if you are sentenced to a state, or if you'll be sentenced to a state bid if you're in Bergen County, then you go do your state time wherever they send you in New Jersey. You could be anywhere. But if you were charged in Bergen County, they wouldn't then send you to Gloucester County.
Okay.
For any old, that's not a normal thing.
So they would send you to another prison, but not another county jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
While
gotcha.
you're fighting your case.
Gotcha.
So I start thinking, what is this guy telling? He doesn't seem like a guy who's telling.
Right.
You know, and if he knows Reek Roo, I can't imagine that Reek Roo and those guys. If he grew up with Reek Roo, I can't imagine that this guy is a teller. He can't be a tattletale from Perry Street. Doesn't tattletale.
No, that's not what they do.
So I'm like, well, that don't make much sense, cuz. So I'm kind of pressing him, you know?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense. Why would they bring you from Bergen County down here? He's like, well, you know, they said I had a lot of power up there. And I'm like, oh, you're this guy. You're going to tell me.
They had to separate you out because you might have started orchestrating things.
All right, super thug. So I'm like, well, hold on, dude. What charges do you even got? He was like, well, I got a RICO charge. I got this, that, and that, and a RICO charge.
Okay.
And I laugh in his face, right? I'm like, cuz, stop playing with me. I'm like, okay, all right. They moved you from Bergen County. You're in on a RICO charge. So what are you really doing? He's like, no, you can see my paperwork. I'm like, cuz, I don't want to see the paperwork. Like, okay, dude, you're on a RICO charge. I believe you.
We get it.
So I'm breaking his balls for weeks, and then he leaves. But me and him, like, I'm breaking his stones. I'm talking filthy to him. I'm kind of like, I'm dealing with him the way that I deal with anybody. That we're the same level.
Okay.
And you know, maybe if you say something crazy, then we're gonna, you know, I'm gonna break your balls about it.
Of course.
A couple weeks go by. He leaves. I come home, I think. I must have came home because then I'm in Trenton visiting the OG Brent. Brent is the TWD OG. He originated the term TWD. Could there be a RICO charge article in the Trentonian News? This is where I'm getting to, Victor Coco. That's exactly where I'm going.
Slow down, Vic.
So so I see the Trentonian and see Petey Black, leader of Sex Money Murder or G-Shine Blood Set, sentenced to triple life or facing triple life.
All right.
And I'm like, oh, some gang shit. Let me look at this.
Right.
I open
Let me see
it up.
this man's picture.
And here's the guy who I'm breaking his stones, telling him he ain't shit, and he's lying to me about his RICO charge. Right there in the paper, facing a RICO charge. It was Petey Black. Petey Black is legendary as far as the blood organization is concerned, and he was great. He was a super nice guy, you know, super nice, super smart, super charismatic. But apparently, he's the leader of an organization that...
He talks too much on the phone.
You know, they do some stuff that they're not, you know, not supposed to do.
You got to make your money, you know?
So I tell you that because before that, I was on discussing... Oh, I'm discussing things that came into my head, right?
Right.
I thought that these guys that I'm getting locked with... Now, Petey Black is an exception to this rule. But I'm thinking that these guys that I'm getting locked up with were cool, right?
Okay.
So as I'm young, I'm looking at that and going like, oh, yeah, like I'm with the guys.
Right.
I'm with the guys who are out here doing it. In hindsight, I look at it, and these are just a bunch of dirtball kids who were like...
Also couldn't pass a piss test.
Right. And some of them, probably a good portion of them, had some pretty rough situations behind them, so only some percentage of where they wound up is their fault. When you're 13
right,
and you're wilding and getting locked up, in most situations, that's because your pops is probably locked up, your mom's on drugs, and grandma is too old to even try and raise you properly.
It's bigger than you.
And you're living in a shit neighborhood, so you wind up in these kind of situations. But I'm looking at those guys thinking that that's what there is to aspire to.
Okay.
When in reality, I obviously should have been looking in a different direction.
At Petey Black.
If I had Petey Blacks around at 13, I would have either been a full-blown blood, white blood cell, or I would have had some kind of guidance from somebody I thought was cool and started to move in a different direction.
Right.
I didn't see anybody who was cool but who was also successful in a legal manner when I was that age.
Understood.
Right?
Yeah.
My pops and all my uncles, they were all doing okay for themselves and successful in different levels of it, but none of them knew the entire Wu-Tang catalog in its entirety.
No. In fact, they probably hated the Wu-Tang.
That may be true. So I just had I was trying to fit into a place that, looking back, was obviously the wrong place to fit in. And then that put me on this path of doing things that, like, I look back and I think, like, what a loser. Because I'm looking at the losers thinking I'm trying to aspire to be the losers.
Right.
And I did. I was very successful in being a loser.
At lumping up with the losers, yeah.
I was a very successful loser.
It's one of the best losers I knew. No one could lose like me.
Like, I can remember a friend of mine who, we were in Daytop together, and we learned a bunch of early hooligan life lessons together.
Okay.
He took those hooligan life lessons and applied them on the legal side of the fence.
Okay.
So by the time he's 22, 23, this guy's got his own apartment. He's a pretty successful salesman. He's got a vehicle. He can pay for his girl to live at home all day. And he's got, money to burn. And he's well on his way to being a guy who's a somebody, who's doing very well for himself now.
Right.
I took those same hooligan lessons that I learned and applied them in the street and kept going down that route. So a lot of times, because me and him were so tight in Daytop, I would lean on him with, like, the G code. Like, yo, I'm kind of, I'm a little jammed up here. I need somewhere to stay. And this guy doesn't want me at his house all day while he's at work.
Right.
You know what I mean? But come on, cuz, it's G shit. You know what I mean? You gotta let me stay here. And he would, and then I would fully wear out my welcome with having no, like, remorse or thought of it.
Probably no awareness.
No.
Like, you were, I'm just behaving like me, and you said it was okay for me to be here, so what's the problem?
Right. And you look at that in hindsight, I'm like, I'm barely getting by, so I'm, like, dependent on him to come home with dinner while he's at work all day, and I'm, like, sitting around doing nothing.
Like you're his kid.
Yeah. And it's like, I look back on those things, and I'm like, ugh, that doesn't feel very good.
That's not G.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No.
Even though you were pressing him into acting like a G, you were not.
I had the G code misconstrued.
Right.
In a lot of different ways. I also had a lot of morals and values instilled in me that can be considered very thorough in G. I am the co-founder of TWD as a movement.
Right. But this still has to be, like, it's in you, but something has to manifest it out. Like,
yeah.
And it's the path that you're on that manifests it, that tests it, and see where you're really situated at.
And as long as you are living your life addicted to a substance, you just can't fully be G through and through.
Right.
Like, I like to think that I'm, like, the rap hip-hop life that you see now in front of you, where these rappers are strung out on hard drugs and super skinny and a little bit dusty, and I like to think that I'm the originator of that whole lifestyle choice.
You created Junkie Rapper?
I created, basically, I created guys like Gunplay. I am going to take full responsibility for what is going on in Gunplay's life right now.
It's nothing to be proud of, but go ahead.
It's not, but I understand that this is because of the things that I did in 2002. That is what he's going through now.
He's following your workbook. He's following through your blueprint.
He's a few chapters ahead of where I ever planned for this workbook to go, but I definitely created the path for him. So, I love Gunplay as a rapper. I love Gunplay as a guy.
Right.
Right? The idea of Gunplay and the character. Here's the thing. A lot of rappers are. It's going to be a heavy rap episode tonight, I think.
I mean, we could probably talk about rap if we try.
You might know a thing or two. I might know a thing or two. Gunplay, a lot of rappers play a character.
Of course.
Which is fine. It's great. This is WWE. We want to see the I love the characters that people are in rap. I love Sauce Walka because of the character he is.
Right.
That doesn't mean that he's not really that guy.
Right.
That's just he's still a character in the whole grand scheme of hip hop. Gunplay came in as of who he is, I believe, but he's a very big character. He's like half Haitian, half Puerto Rican, wild Miami hood dude. You know, he had the Haitian dreads, the wild, dirty-looking Haitian dreads. It's like one big one here and a little one here.
Like the standard Florida protocol dreads.
Yeah, I'm working on growing mine out. That's why I got a hat on this week.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to have dreads and gold teeth.
Next up is the wave cap, and then you can go from there.
I saw, side note.
Side note.
Side note.
Cove on the camera, payday on the boss.
That's a little confusing.
Yeah.
Because you're on the boards. I'm really more on the microphone. Well, I am on camera.
You're the main camera. Oh, I see what you're saying.
But I'm not. You're on the boards.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, did I tell you I'm starting a new TikTok channel?
You didn't. I still haven't really gotten in touch with the old one, but let's hear about the new one.
Starting a new TikTok channel. We're calling it European Seasick. Seasick Europeans.
Okay.
And what I just shaved my head.
Right. Wait, I thought you were growing in dreads.
I just shaved my head. Hold on. New status. I was growing in dreads 3 minutes ago.
Oh, that's right.
We're
it's been
on a new thing,
yeah,
dude.
I'm sorry. I can't keep up with you anymore.
I just shaved my head, and I'm starting a TikTok channel with the progress of me growing my waves in.
Oh, okay.
So basically, every morning I do a wave check. Yeah. Every night I put up a TikTok video. You'll see me putting the Murrays or the 360 wave grease in.
Right.
I'll show you how to wrap up a do-rag properly. And over the course of time, we're going to see how roping I could get my waves.
Well, you got to do that, and then you got to do, like, as part of it, your segment where you just get in front of the camera every day. This is me day 1 of growing out my waves. Mm-hmm. This is me day 15 of growing out my waves. Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's the main thing is basically the check-in every day of how my waves are coming along.
Right, and then you can do that really cool like time-lapse photo thing, and then you look like a Play-Doh barber set where the hair is just kind of
growing in,
coming out.
So go over to TikTok and check out Seasick Europeans. That's our.
What's the relevant? Because the waves, you're growing waves. Gotcha.
You don't remember that one? Like, damn, so you got me seasick. Them waves spinning so heavy.
I do not recall that one. No, I'm sorry.
I spent a lot of time around guys who were trying to grow waves, who were trying to get their waves roping. That was a term for a while. Yo, son, my waves is roping. Yo, you don't want me to take off? You don't want me to take off the rag, son? Go ahead, come on, man. We gonna get so and so and this and that. I'm gonna take off the rag. You take off the rag. I promise you, my Jones is more roping than yours.
All right, that's the showdown now. We're not dancing anymore. Now we're just showing off hair.
I'm just telling you, bro. Wave battles was a real thing that I have seen come to fruition right in front of me.
Listen, when two guys are in a room, anything can be a battle. It doesn't really even matter.
Mm-hmm. So I'm working on Seasick Europeans. There was another thing. Oh. In that lane, have you ever seen a white guy with waves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's give me the explanation because you don't feel confident in it. Yes.
Because they're saying the white guy thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if I saw like a super pale Puerto Rican guy who anywhere he went would seem like he was white but had waves? Like, does that really count or no? Or how does that all?
No, because he's Puerto Rican, so he's got Latin heritage.
There's something in there, right?
Yeah.
So then, but if Latin heritage matters, then like Italians with waves shouldn't be a shock either.
So have you seen an Italian with waves? Yeah,
Nah.
I know you haven't. I met one. This dude was two techs, the Ukraine train, and this kid had
all
him.
he could do was wear waves.
Yo, cuz had him roping. He was in his late 20s. He was like 28 years old, and he had all gray hair.
Okay.
His hair was, but it was like charcoal gray and light gray, all mixed up.
Right.
And then he could get them waves roping.
Roping.
He was roping. Shout out to Two Techs, the Ukraine train. I wonder if that kid's alive.
You know anything about him at all besides his nickname?
I know his real name.
Oh, okay. Shoot it over to me.
Let me put it on a piece of paper.
You do that too.
I'll write it down here.
All right.
He was a little bit odd, but he was thorough nonetheless.
Okay.
He was a little not odd. He was
eccentric.
He was a little socially awkward.
Well, I can relate.
But he was a G, and I would be interested in what's going on with old Two Techs, the Ukraine train.
All right. I'll put my investigative reporters on it.
You see why his name was Two Techs now?
I do.
Yeah. Man, I'm so far off where we started that I don't know if I can swim back to shore.
All right. Well, let me take you to something in the middle then that you were talking about, and I got an adjacent conversation.
Okay.
I was talking to a friend about. So at a certain point, you're trapped up in this recurring cycle of go to prison, get out, breach some dumb rule about being in prison, go back. And that's your cycle. And when you're out, not in the cycle, what are you doing? You're foul in the streets, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you that way because you can't get a good enough job and this is just making you more money, or is there still appeal to this even after you're caught in the system?
I would love to tell you that I was getting money in these streets. But I was not. I always worked.
Okay.
And the universe saw fit. PD Black, sentenced 2014, October 31st. Eligible for release April 2033. Thank you, Victor. So when PD Black comes home, we're going to get him on a show in 2033. I was able to learn a trade in between all of this madness.
Okay.
There's a lot of guys who walked the same path that I did that came out and got themselves together at 30 and 30 plus years old, who the only thing they could do was work at a warehouse somewhere.
Right.
Or go like very entry level jobs in places. When I got my shit together, I was eligible to start my own business because I had enough knowledge to do that, because somewhere sprinkled in between all of it, I did what I do with everything else and learned just enough to be pretty good at it.
Gotcha.
You give me, I'll learn enough to be pretty good at anything.
Yep.
I'll never be great at one thing, but I will be pretty good at most everything. That's Two Techs.
Yep, found him.
He doesn't look like a Ukrainian, but he is.
Well, he's older now, so you kind of grow out of it after a while.
Well, he looks kind of like a Spanish bull, right?
Yeah,
If we told you he was Brazilian,
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a G. Is he still posting?
He's a political organizer at Politico. So he's certainly not posting what he would have in the past.
He's certainly on a new path now. I wonder which side he plays.
I'll try to find some articles from him or something.
I'm gonna guess he's going left.
I would assume so because he's with Politico. Politico is going to be center left for most of it. So if he's got any kind of career with them, he's somewhere center left, or super duper left to where they're into communism and stuff like that.
Right. I can't imagine him being really organized in anything.
Right.
Because when I knew him, he was a barber.
Oh, okay. Well,
He could organize your shape up. Yeah. He
That's
could
how
organize.
he could get his waves roping. He knew what he was doing.
He could organize a lineup on the back of your neck. Yeah. When I'm in the streets, I happen, but I'm not getting real money, dude.
Okay.
I'm getting enough money to feed a habit and like have a couple of snacks. It was a sad existence when I was full bore to the wall.
So, is the addiction taking precedence over all the other decisions, or is the lack of money taking precedence over all the other decisions? If you got out of jail the first time, and this isn't where I was headed, but if you got out of jail the first time and they wrote you a check for $1 million and said, listen, you went through the system, you're out of the system, get away from here, figure your shit out, get your shit together. Would that $1 million have wound up just fueling a more massive addiction, or would that have been, okay, I can get away from this and I can set myself up comfortably, find a job, whatever it might be, and then I can distance myself from this behavior?
It would have given me an opportunity to figure out how to be a functioning addict.
Okay.
Which I kind of was.
Okay.
Like, I went to work on most days, and I paid the rent enough to keep a house over my head for a few months at a time before I got kicked out of wherever it was. But I think at that point, if I had had a chunk of money like that, I would have hoped to figure out how to invest it and be able to make more money to the point where, like, oh, okay, now I'm functioning and I could get high and I can make money and I can be okay because I have financial backing. Having no money was sure not helping the situation of me getting it together until I had no money and I thought to myself, I have no money. Like, what am I going to do? I'm not getting any money. If I can remember very vividly a day when I'm on my way to the hood with $20 or $30 in my pocket, and I'm walking through what's now a dollar store in North Camden.
Okay.
It was before an overgrown lot with shattered glass and, needles all over the place, and it's hot. It's the middle of August. I'm sweating. I'm in a wife beater. I'm wearing basketball shorts. I'm not fresh, and my hair's probably more grown in than it should be instead of having a fresh shave. And I'm on my way to the hood, and I look and say to myself, well, I have $30 now, but I have to play this game all over again tomorrow.
Right.
And it was this heavy realization that this was going nowhere. Now, it took me years beyond that to actually get it together.
How old do you think you were when that hit you?
22, 23, maybe 24.
All right.
I knew very early.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that you didn't understand that you were in a vicious cycle and a problem. I'm just curious as to like when it actually like slapped you in the face, like, oh, no, I really need to set some things straight here. Even if it's just a matter of I need to learn how to make more money so that I don't have to stretch my last dollar to get high every time.
Well, my problem was that from so young, I only knew being in the system.
Right.
So at 24, if I'm getting locked up and I'm on probation and I got a pending charge coming at me, that was normal. I realized that it wasn't normal, but I was so comfortable with it because from the time I was 12 or 13 years old, I'm in and out, and I have a probation officer, and they're chasing me, and I'm running from them, and
you wind up situated with other people who are doing the same thing. So now it seems normal.
Right. It's regular in the circles that I'm moving in.
Right.
So like I was just doomed.
Yeah.
Until I wasn't, and then I got it together. And when I got it together, I was lucky enough to have learned a trade somehow through all of that to be able to find a way out. I hate my trade with all of my heart, and I'm looking for a way out now, but the reality might be that I'm stuck here forever, and I'm going to live a miserable life just waiting till every weekend when I can hop on that dirt bike and, live the dream.
I might have an idea for you to get you out of your current trade.
Throw it at me.
So, Well, I don't know. Like, are we talking about the idea that you're probably relocating? Is that like fodder for the air or no?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. So, by my math, and it's just my math, you're going to wind up with a decent little nest egg when you relocate.
If my wife doesn't figure out how to spend it all.
So, what's your thoughts on food sales?
It's so the idea of like a food truck
Maybe
has danced in
food
my
truck
head.
or even just a storefront that sold, I don't know, say pretzels. Say the best pretzels in that. So the one thing I notice about Florida when I study the geographic areas is there's a lot of businesses in Florida that either they came from Philly or they represent Philadelphia foods.
And they do well.
And they do very well for themselves because for whatever reason down in Florida, they can't do those particular things correctly. So pretzel storefront, I know where you can get the pretzels. I know where you can get gluten-free pretzels that are the best ones across the board.
Yeah.
And then all you have to do is bake them and sell them. So even at that point, like your startup is minimal. Like a person just opening a pretzel shop down there needs a whole lot more equipment than just an oven and a display.
Right.
This is all you would need to get going. And
Well, where am I getting are the pretzels being shipped every morning?
well, so
Or am I buying dough pretzels that I then need to cook?
you're buying they're par baked, sorry. So you're baking them, but not for a full cycle.
Right.
And when you purchase them, they will come vacuum sealed in a cooler box,
Yeah.
and then you'll have to keep them in a refrigerator until you're ready to use them. When they're vacuum sealed, they'll last approximately a month, where you can break them out of the vacuum seal, cook them, and they'll still come out perfect. So you would want to get like 1 or 2 deliveries a month, as many as you could in that delivery, because it'll cut down on all your costs.
And I know that the Yucatan family is legends in the pretzel game, and I understand that. But I think that they're one of the few families that made a lucrative operation out of pretzels.
Well, yeah. It's hard to do because you need, especially at the time when they built the empire, you needed a top quality product.
Yeah.
Because you're competing with a couple people in Philly that have been doing it since the 1700s.
Right.
So if you're going to make a name for yourself, it better be a really good product.
Right.
So if you're just one small little corner store, like a bagel shop or whatever, and you just have the best pretzel in the area, you should be gold.
But how often are people eating pretzels?
So pretzels are an interesting
Right.
dietary thing.
Now this is it. Everybody hang on
Sit
to your
back.
seats.
The thing with pretzels...
It's going to get exciting here.
The thing with pretzels is, so you have your people who will come in and buy a pretzel or a couple pretzels a day. But then you have like your, my office around the corner gets 50 pretzels a day from me, and then they serve them at lunch and those sort of things. And then you get your schools and things like that.
That's where you want to be.
So
you want to be in the wholesale game.
Right. Well, no, you want to
Kind
sell.
of.
You want to be retail in bulk.
Bulk retail. That's the way to
You want
put
to
it.
have
Yeah.
your storefront, and everybody smells it when they walk by, and they buy a pretzel here and a pretzel there, and then somebody comes in and says, "I need 50 pretzels every Tuesday," and I give them to all the nurses at my nursing station, and then that's where you make your.
And I go, all right, I'll tell you what. Instead of paying $2 a pretzel, I'm gonna sell you those 50 pretzels at $1.75.
Exactly.
Long as you're coming every
As long as
Tuesday.
you show up every Tuesday, I'll cut it down to nickel each week until we get to $1.75.
I'll cut it down a nickel each week until I'm giving you pretzels for free.
That's right. As long as you tell everybody about it. But
it would be
it's an easy startup. That's the only reason I'm pointing it out is like it's an oven.
Yeah.
And your willingness to do it is all that you need. Because initially you could literally, like they do in Philly, just go out on a corner with bags of pretzels until you get your name moving. You don't even need a storefront because you don't need to produce anything. You're just baking to go. I know you're not going to do that. I'm just saying.
I can't, as a guy who's
well, when you're initially in your relax
mildly
period,
successful construction worker
who hates it and wants to get away from it.
But also the leader of a family of 2 children, I cannot walk out onto the corner and make $35 a day selling pretzels.
All right, so what's the number?
I make $400 a day.
Okay. That depends on where you set yourself up, but I don't think that's impossible.
No.
You got to be out on like A1A. You got to be in a good
Got to be in the
major
mix.
cross section.
No, you're not gonna make $400 a day selling pretzels by hand to hand, dude. It's not gonna happen.
Okay.
I can't, because you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to sell your pretzels at a 200% markup, is my guess. Right?
Well,
Let's talk to. I know this is really exciting, and but Victor loves pretzels, and I don't think anybody else is here. So
I don't
we're
see
going,
any objections.
Yeah, we're going pretzel talk. This is the direction the show is taking. We're trying to make it as boring as we can for everybody.
That's hurtful.
I want to talk pretzels. What are we talking? Buying if I'm buying par baked pretzels,
Right.
roughly, what am I paying per pretzel if I'm ordering by the 1,000?
When you initially start out, you're going to be at about $1.35 a pretzel. But I can get that lower for you quickly. But initially, you're going to be at about $1.35 a pretzel. So you're going to have
How much of that $1.35 is going in your pocket, you son of a bitch?
None of it. But when it moves to $1.20, I'm probably picking up a nickel along the way.
Probably tell you it's still $1.35.
The first price is
Once we
all
get you to $1, I'll start telling you it's $1.25.
Once you're hooked, I'll start moving the numbers around.
So that means if you're going $1.35, that means you got to sell a pretzel in order to reach the goal of $400 a day selling pretzels.
Right.
You're gonna have to sell 400 pretzels at $2.35.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because that's your dollar markup.
Right.
And to me, if a pretzel's $1, I'll buy 2. If you get into the above $2 range, now it doesn't. The pretzel doesn't have the same oomph. A pretzel is a cheap kind of filling snack. A pretzel is known for being $1.
Sure.
Now that inflation has ruined it,
Right.
because you can't charge $1 for a pretzel, nobody's going to make any money. But I think this is the kind of business that inflation and the economy moving upwards, like the power of the dollar decreasing, now ruins industry like the pretzel industry. It's a luxury industry.
It is, but it isn't. See, so this is where this plays into it. As the power of the dollar goes down,
The pretzel king of Port Charlotte.
The pretzel becomes more relevant because now the people in the middle and lower are running out of like those sort of like luxury treats to make life worthwhile. So you go from like, okay, maybe I can afford a crab cake to maybe I can afford like a nice gourmet pretzel.
To maybe I can get a pretzel.
Hey, if whatever food it is, if it's good enough, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be this sort of, all right, we worked our asses off this week. Let's go get the good.
Let's go get some pretzels.
So on Sundays when you have pasta dinner, you don't just break out the Wonder Bread. You go to the store and you buy the
and you
nice
get the
baguette.
loaf.
Right.
Yeah.
So, every now and then a nice piece of bread is a treat.
Yeah, it's not a treat. A pretzel's not a treat, but
Yeah, I'm not stumping for pretzels necessarily. I know what they are and how they work.
yeah.
But I'm just letting you know there's businesses out there that you can get into quickly that at the very least you can know within a month whether it's lucrative or not.
Right.
You're going to know almost right away with very little bit of effort and a little bit of expenditure. Hey, as soon as I started doing this, it like started rolling in. I'm going to stick with it. Or, you know what? I tried. It's going to take a lot more effort than I thought it would. I'm good.
Yeah.
And now I got pretzels for the kid's birthday party.
I think a pretzel. I think the way to do it would be a pretzel storefront would be a situation that if I was going to open it up, I would open it, get it running, and then have Steph run it while I continue on with the work that I hate so much.
And if you're gonna move to that, then you branch it out a little bit. You get the buns and you make sandwiches, you do all the extra stuff, just to make it like a nice corner store where people just come and get all their eats and not just the pretzel itself. Like if you went into the store right now and it was $10 gets you 5 pretzels and 5 cans of soda or 5 bottles of water. That's not an unreasonable deal, right?
No.
But you're probably clear about $3 or $4 in profit off of that because you can get the bottles of water and the cans of soda for so cheap.
Next to nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Costco 'em.
Yeah, I mean, the pretzel idea, it's not a bad idea. It's definitely not a bad idea. I got another idea that a lane that I'm going to work that seems. Here's the other thing. You have to to get to the level of financial success that I'm looking for. You got to be the pretzel king of South Florida. The pretzel king of South Florida is probably on the same level as a mid-tier real estate investor.
You think so? In South Florida?
Yeah.
I'm
talking mid-tier, like this guy owns maybe 3 or 4 rental properties. Yeah. He's delivering pretzels in a Benz. A
Sprinter?
No, like an economical Benz.
Oh, okay.
He's got like
He's got the electric wagon.
Yeah, he's got the wagon. Exactly. I don't know. I don't see it being super lucrative in that fashion, but I want to be lucrative enough in my career to buy my free time. I want to have enough money to buy my free time. I want to be able to have a retirement fund, and I want to be able to buy a motorcycle every year. I want to be able to spend $10,000 a year on a new motorcycle and get my collection up.
You use your drive, your chutzpah. You get the business to $650 a day, and then $125 a day goes to your employee.
Yeah,
and your days are free. You just have to check in to make sure the books are good, and then that's it. And then you sit back.
But $650 a day again.
It's not small change. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not acting as if you
particularly
just do that day
for this
one.
situation.
But
if we were in a fish business and had a seafood store, $650 a day may be an easy ask.
Right. No, I hear you. But I mean, my cousin who started a completely side endeavor of the same thing off of the family business, it took him 1 year to be profitable. From buying his own property to setting it all up, 1 year was all he needed to be moving enough to be profitable.
Right.
So it's there if you want to get off your knees and find a get up at 3 a.m. grind somewhere else. It's there for you. But it was a thought I was having on the way over tonight, and I was talking to my cousin, and I just started asking him all these pricing questions.
Yeah.
And I never told him why. And then I got to the end of the information I wanted. And I was like, all right, thanks, bye. And I just hung up.
Well, you should have told him why, because he might have said, like, all right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give him the first batch on consignment.
Oh, 100%. Once I tell him what I'm actually doing with it,
Yeah.
you'll get them at wholesale, not retail.
Right.
You'll get them at 40 cents a piece instead of $1 a piece.
Right.
100%.
Right.
I wanted the actual, if anybody were to call in and get the pricing and start from there and see what it works out to.
Right. So why did you tell me when I asked you for the price of a pretzel, you told me $1.35 when they're really 40 cents? Because this changes the game.
Well, no. So the $1.35 would be if anybody called him and asked to have pretzels shipped, it would be $1 a pretzel plus shipping.
Right.
So he said the shipping to Florida is about $35.
Uh-huh.
So, and you can fit 80 pretzels in a box. So when I worked it out to $80 worth of pretzels plus $30 worth of shipping, breaks to like $1.35 a pretzel. That's where I got that number.
Plus, that's
any schmo off the street.
Right.
So you could take 60 cents off of that on my behalf.
Right. So then we're talking 75 cents.
Right. And now your $2 pretzels are way profitable.
Yeah, we're playing a different game. I could sell you a 2 for $3 pretzel and feel good about that.
Right. But I got to get you on board at the regular price, and then I can make it more attractive for you. That's how you sell things. You're going to need to know that if you're going to start a pretzel business.
Hey,
you write an estimate at the big number, and then they go, and you go, all right, I could take a couple bucks off the bathroom if you need me to.
It's not. I usually don't do that. That's usually not my game. My game is in sales. Is usually get in there and be charming, give them a high price,
right?
And when they say, "Meh," you say, "All right,
I'm not for you then."
Yeah.
Sorry to waste your
time. Thank you for your time, and if shop around. If you find a better deal and that's what you're looking for, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to, save your money where you can, because I don't want to do the goddamn work anyway.
Right. You just want to represent that you were trying.
Anyway, Gunplay pointed a gun at his wife.
Yeah, because he's Gunplay. Like it's.
What did you expect, lady?
What were you looking for?
He's a coked up, wild Haitian bull from Broward County.
Right.
And you thought you were going to get lippy with him time and time again, and at some point he wasn't going to pull out his assault rifle and point it at you and your baby? Come on.
Yeah, I'll never understand those sort of situations. Like, yes, he pulled a gun on you. Yes, he acted like the same exact person that he represents
That he
himself to
is.
be all the time.
Right.
You can't suddenly get mad at him for being himself.
No, I don't think you. No, yeah, he pulled out a gun, pointed at you and your baby. There's absolutely no reason that you can get mad. If it was somebody else, you could get angry
No.
about that. But being that it's gunplay, you have to take it in stride and just accept the fact that your life was on the line.
Right. And I know.
And it might be again.
I know it gets into this whole victim blaming thing, but there's nuance to that idea, right? It's not the, well, what was she wearing that day? No, it's you put yourself in a known situation where bad things happen.
Right.
So if something bad then happens to you, I'm not saying you asked for it or you deserved it, but you really raked up the odds on it happening.
Well,
right?
and then her little follow-up statements that she made on live or whatever were very much of a person who accepted her fate.
Okay, well, I respect that.
Although that was after he's already got boxed and now he's, I'm sure, facing charges for
Right.
pointing a gun at
So
him.
I don't think he doesn't deserve punishment, but also I don't think she can just claim to be like, oh, I had no idea this would be the outcome.
Well, I don't know if you heard when I was watching it. She said, I filed for a divorce, but he won't sign the papers. So we're staying together and we'll just
We'll work
figure
it out.
yeah.
We'll work it out. He'll shoot me, and then we won't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I probably can afford to take a shot in the leg or something.
Right.
He promised that he's going to get rid of all the high-powered rifles out
I
of the
don't know.
house.
Shot in the leg put Tory Lanez in jail, didn't it?
Yeah. So, our prayers are with gunplay.
Of course.
Free gunplay.
Free
son.
gunplay, because the only thing gunplay did was be gunplay.
That's it,
and
dude.
you can't hold that against
And
gunplay.
we love gunplay
That's
for
right.
him being
That's
who
he is. We wouldn't be a rich rapper if he wasn't gunplay.
I don't know that he's rich.
Well,
he may have been at one point. I think he's probably having a tough time nowadays.
Well, yeah, he's in the jail.
Ever since he
so-
shaved off the dreads, it's all been downhill.
Well, that's how it works. It's like Samson. He just took away his powers.
Yep, took his power away. Speaking of gunplay, that made me. This morning, the gunplay situation then brought me to another scenario, which is, I think that as far as musical hip hop movements,
Okay.
give me what you think is the biggest hip hop movement.
Like historically, or
Yeah, like whatever you think is the biggest movement from a place or from a certain producer or from a record label or
I think there's two.
out of one guy.
For me, there's two.
Okay.
There's the entirety of the native tongues,
Of course he's going to go there.
and then there's DJ Premier.
yeah.
I think that those two things, as they existed when they existed, impacted the entirety of the future of hip hop altogether.
Yeah.
And I think that you can take anyone who's rapping now who wasn't even alive when that happened and trace their platform back to one of those two trees.
Yeah.
And DJ Premier is only like my second or third favorite producer, but when they come with that second album and he basically reinvents the entire sound of hip hop.
Yeah.
It's crucial because that's the real point at which it pivots away from sort of the 80s funk-based sound to something that became a little grittier,
Yeah.
a little more where you could rap about, selling drugs in the streets and you didn't sound comical doing it because of the music behind you.
Right.
So-
Broken glass.
Right, exactly.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Like that's a hard song
Those-
if you change the beat and the delivery.
Chuck D does that song, and it's the political anthem for decades to come with the lyrics that are there.
Yeah.
But because of the presentation, because of the music,
And the guys dressed like the village people.
right? And the guys all have leather and big sunglasses.
Yeah.
You don't get the impact that you're supposed to be getting from
Yeah.
it. But then you put it over a Premier beat. You put Guru saying the same sort of thing over a Premier beat, and everyone's like, "This guy's got some interesting stuff to say, and we should pay attention to what he has to say."
And really, it was that the message really was, it is regarded as one of the biggest and kind of most influential and game-changing songs in the history of hip-hop, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But I think that the later generations were not really in touch with it in the same fashion. It
aged.
The way that it connects to you doesn't really stand on par with what it is.
No, and because it aged. Like so that sound is just so 1986.
Yeah.
And there's no way around it. Again, going back to Premier, there's Premier songs I could put on now and not tell you where they're from as long as you didn't know the artist. And you'd be like, yeah, that was probably on the radio in the last month and a half or so. No matter when I put on the message, you're going to go, oh, yeah, 86, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, and it is one of my favorite eras. The idea of what the message is talking about is one of my favorite eras in U.S. history, which is 70s and 80s New York.
Right.
The creation of hip-hop, the crack era.
Yeah. The
Reaganomics, poverty and all that, you know.
Yeah, no, it's a tremendous song, but it aged poorly because of the sound, not because of the topicality.
Right. Now, while we're in this little pocket of songs that like resonate in one way or another, I'm at work last week, and Apple Music was killing it.
Okay.
They're just feeding me songs, and I'm just letting it play. And Cannabis 100 Bars was on, and there was Big Pun joints sprinkled in there, and some Noriega, and they even went off into like left field. They tried to play me some MF Doom, and I was like, yeah, skip that one. But I appreciate what you're trying to do here.
I hear you, but that's not work music.
Yeah. So I'm jamming old DJ Clue joints, old DJ Clue freestyles from the Locks and stuff like that. Killing it. I'm rapping my face off while I'm sanding Southern Yellow Pine boards.
That's what the music is there for at that point, just to keep you moving.
And I'm going in for a good 2-3 hours on this. I'm rapping. I got the AirPods in. And here comes a song comes on that I'm unfamiliar with. But the beat was, the beat drew me in.
It was there, right.
So I'm like, all right, let me see what this is. Obviously, it's something from the classic era. If I don't know it, let me listen to it.
Let me find out why.
It's a Chino XL song called Father's Day.
Okay.
Have you ever heard this?
I absolutely know who Chino XL is as far as whether or not I've heard Father's Day. Do you know which album it was on?
I have no idea.
Was it From Here to Save Y'all?
I didn't make it through the first verse.
Oh, well, that's unusual for Chino XL.
I'm not saying he's great.
Oh, okay.
It was a very well done song.
Okay.
But he was harsh in the vibe.
Oh, it's a for him newerish one. It's off of Reconstruction. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was,
and that's why you like the beat
because it's
Apollo Brown.
Makes sense. It's but it was a song. The verses were about him going into the hospital to find out that his young daughter had cancer.
Ugh.
And he was very vivid with his explanation, and a lot of the wood dust and the sand had started to get in my eyes.
Yeah.
It started getting in my eyes, and I almost couldn't see. I had to turn it off so I could straighten things out and get the wood dust out of my eyes or whatever. I was choking on it a little bit. But it was a heart-wrenching song.
I'm flipping through the lyrics, and yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a fun song to listen to.
And it's one of those things, too, like, if I had heard that song 15 years ago, it would have been a bummer for him. But hearing that song now, having my own kid, it's like, Jesus Christ, this is
absolutely
awful. Like,
absolutely.
It just hits you so much harder.
I came home that day and said to Sadie, baby, I am so glad that you and Chris are healthy.
Yeah.
And because I told her, I was like, listen, I was jamming and listening to music, and then this song came on, and this is, it was about this guy finding out his daughter had cancer, and I had to turn it off. I couldn't listen to it because it was so sad. And she just kind of does the things that kids do, and she's like, oh, Dad. Yeah, that is sad, Dad. I'm like, no, you don't get what I'm telling you here, little girl. Yeah. You don't understand what I'm saying to you. No, she won't never say man up to me. You know what they said the other day? I took them to New York, her and her cousin.
Right.
And they said something, and Sadie's like, my daddy is a hard dude. I'm like, yeah, you're right, baby. Daddy's a hard dude.
Dad's a thug. You can't say stuff like that around here.
My daddy's a hard dude. So, anyway, this morning, I'm listening again, and I try to kind of branch out. I have the same playlist that's been going on in the gym for the past 2-3 months, and maybe a song gets added, a song gets taken away, and I try to get myself outside of it, but I don't like to stray too far because I want to keep
then they start throwing a whole, they keep moving you further out.
Yeah. But I got into the early mid-2000s Khaled stuff.
Okay.
And I thought, like, that's one of... It doesn't have the same impact that, say, a Native Tongues movement has or Premier has. But as far as its reach, it was an expansive movement that Khaled put together down there in South Florida.
It really was. And it was kind of, I mean, it wasn't completely out of nowhere, but like, he kind of, however he pulled it off, he kind of got back to, it was almost took the place of mixtapes. Because it was, here's an album with 20 of your favorite artists doing new songs that you can only get from me. And as far as I know, like, he doesn't really produce any of it himself. He just kind of sits in on everything.
He puts it together.
Yeah, he's the tastemaker or whatever.
Maestro.
He's the P. Diddy of that era. Yeah. But he had a pretty good ear for stuff. He had some real good producers in his pocket, and he seemed to, for whatever reason, he had enough reach to get anybody he wanted.
Yeah.
The song he's got on, I think it's on Kiss the Ring, with Scarface and Nas, is just an unbelievable song.
Right.
Just a classic, a pure classic that gives me chills when I listen to it.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming, hey, it's Khaled. Can I get Scarface and Nas in here on the 9th so they can do these verses, please?
And they go, sure.
Like, yeah, absolutely. We'll be on our way.
But that's an album cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the singles that he put out.
Oh, bangers.
Were all-star casts of bangers, and there was nothing really coming out of the only thing coming out of Florida between 2 Live Crew and DJ Khaled was
95 South.
No,
there it is.
What's this guy's name? JD. He sung who that 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 trying to get up in my crew. And he was like, the video they had on like futuristic space boot shackles in a super prison.
JT Money?
JT Money. JT Money sung Who Dat, and the video is him in like prison in the year 3023 or
it
something.
Looks like, whatchamacallit was that Demolition Man.
Yeah. That was the only thing that happened between 2 Live Crew and Khaled. And if you go back and try to listen to 2 Live Crew, it doesn't stand the test of time.
Super dated.
Brian the Carpenter thought he was doing something. We're on the way back from lunch. We went to lunch. And he was like, yo, I'm about to put on some 2 Live Crew. I'm like, all right, that sounds like a sick idea. And he put it on, and we both kind of, about a minute in, he's like, this doesn't really hit the same. I'm like, yeah,
well,
it doesn't.
There's a couple reasons for that, and one of them, unfortunately, is you're older.
Yeah.
And like just saying shocking shit for it to just be shocking doesn't have the impact it had when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And also, you're a little bit younger, I'm sorry, but like there was nothing like that at that time.
Right.
Right? It was I could listen to Public Enemy, or I could listen to MC Hammer, or I could listen to these guys doing wild stripper music.
Yeah.
And really find out if my parents care for me or not.
Yeah. Yeah. So Khaled came out, and that had, I say that was maybe not, like we said, maybe not as impactful as your choice of the Native Tongues or Premier, but it was far more expansive.
I think
you know, like those Khaled singles went from Florida and traveled up the East Coast, out to the West, played the whole country.
Yeah,
at a time when that was just starting, countrywide sounds.
He locked in, I don't know if it was on purpose by plan or not, but he locked in a whole bunch of like what would become jock jams, right? Like you go to any arena and hear and the hands go up and they stay there and everybody goes crazy. But like in the arenas, you would hear those songs come on, and there really wasn't, like, there wasn't anything in between. There was the jock jams type of stuff that, y'all ready for this? And then him, and there was like this gap that he again, I don't know if he aimed for that, but he filled that gap in with a whole bunch of just loud, up, posse cut kind of
Bangers.
energetic bangers. Yeah.
Bangers.
I think he's corny, but I think the things that he produced, he personally, like, his image is corny. But
Yeah.
the things he put together and put out, I hear you on it being a majorly important movement.
And he's still doing it. Like, I just heard a Kiss joint that he did in the past year or so that slaps.
He likes
But that's because
Kiss.
it's Kiss.
He
I mean,
but he-
Kiss doesn't. He don't miss really.
He really doesn't.
He really doesn't miss.
He really does not.
And Khaled, if not for Khaled, Plies, one of my favorite rappers from the South, fades into obscurity and doesn't Khaled bridges him to the point where Plies can now create an Instagram and become famous all over again.
You don't think he was going to be famous off that one song? That was his first hit? I can't think of the name of it.
There was two. There was the one for the girls.
There was one about being drunk, I think. I'm trying to think of what it was
I
called.
can't remember what his first one was, but I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. There we go. Let me see what it was.
And then he had the one for the girls.
Mixed. Jesus, he's got a lot of content.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Right. He had a song with T-Pain, but that's not. Please excuse my hands. That was one with Jamie Foxx. That was like humongous when it came out, and that was like 2008. And then he would have been just like, not that he's not now, but he would have been less like one goofy song was a hit, and then we moved on from him. But yeah, Khaled kept him around a lot.
Oh, because he had Bust It Baby, Shorty,
T-Pain.
My Shorty. I gotta remember now I gotta look into it.
Which one?
I gotta look and see like what he had. He had one early in the game that was it was really for the streets.
With the I'm So Hood?
Oh, there was also on his first album, 100% Real Neil. Track 20, Miss Pretty Pussy was
Sure.
that hit heavy. The Real Testament was the album that was kind of popping. Damn, what was the
Yeah, Welcome to My Hood off of We the Best Forever. Yeah, you're right. Khaled keeps propping him up. But yeah, I did not realize until this conversation how much content he actually
Who
has.
Hotter Than Me? That's the one. Do you know this one?
I don't think I do.
It's just a Florida
Yeah.
punch you in the face hood
Yeah.
banger.
Here's my hook 93,000 times. Let's go.
Yeah, Plies to me is on a level with the dude who did Throw Some D's on it. Rich Boy. Rich Boy and Plies are,
Two peas in a pod?
it's basically the greatest rappers in the South. Basically, there's a list that goes something like this. Number one, right up there at the top, has to be Young Dro.
Okay.
Then Plies and Rich Boy are neck and neck. And then if you slide down a little bit further, then you get into like the David Banners,
Okay.
you know? And then like somewhere around 10 comes Andre 3000.
Yeah,
With Wayne at right behind him at 11. You could also throw, since Jay Electronica is kind of from New Orleans.
right. It counts a little bit.
Oh, you know what? This kid from New Orleans who's really nice, who nobody has heard of, Nesby Phipps.
Have you brought him to my attention before? Because I've heard of him.
Probably so.
Okay.
Nesby Phipps is a New Orleans had, I guess it's just their rich history of music,
Sure.
but Nesby Phipps, like New Orleans gives you some really solid rappers in one form or fashion.
Well, that's where Master P is from, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole entire movement, him basically pulling Memphis into New Orleans and then pushing it through the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's and everything feels like for the most part it falls off of that tree.
Yeah. And Master P, like, truth be told.
He's a better businessman than rapper.
Yeah.
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 by a long shot.
But like you have MCs in New Orleans. You have guys like Wayne, Nesby Phipps, who's the kid Stunner? The kid with the planes, Jet Life. Currency.
Oh, okay.
So you got guys who really rap out in New
Juveniles
Orleans.
out of there.
Juvenile, I don't look. Juvenile stands on the other hand.
What do you mean?
Right? To me, Juvenile doesn't really rap the same way that Wayne and Phipps and Currency do.
No, he's not a lyricist in that way. No,
but
no.
Juvenile makes bangers.
Club bangers.
Makes hits.
Yeah.
Even one of the songs that's on that playlist that I play every morning is Soldier Rag, which was Juvenile before,
Right.
Before 400 Degrees. And that joint is a slapper. And it's not particularly, I mean, the EQ on it stinks.
They were doing it all themselves when you didn't have the benefit of computers.
It's poorly produced. It's not really a very exciting beat. But I think this falls into the Sauce Walka category, where it's like this guy is the mouthpiece of a certain situation. And that situation was the Magnolia Projects, which, doing your history on the Magnolia Projects, it's a third world country slapped in the middle of America.
Right.
New Orleans could damn near be considered a third world country. You put the third world of a third world city like
Sixth
New Orleans,
world. Ninth world,
and you get Magnolia Projects.
I think, and also to your other point, if I'm gonna put Native Tongues and Premier out there, I think it's reasonable to put Manny Fresh out there too.
I can see that,
because Manny Fresh, that's pretty much still where we sit right now. Manny Fresh's sound with the super fast hats, and the deeper basses as being the thing that carries the whole sound. Like, we're still kind of in the end of the Manny Fresh phase, and that's been quite some time now.
That's a fair assessment. I can see that.
And he's another New Orleans boy.
And really, that whole Cash Money hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like, when I can remember 8th grade, 9th grade, like every 50% of what we were listening to was Cash Money, whether it was Juvenile, the Hot Boys, the Big Timers. You know, Wayne started maybe coming out on his own at that point. Probably not quite yet. He might have just been with the Hot Boys.
Okay.
But Cash Money was a huge movement.
Yeah.
And then Young Turk and BG got strung out, and Hot Boys fell apart.
Right. And then they brought out Nicki Minaj and Drake, and so then they just pushed Cash Money and Young Money all the way through the roof again.
A new reset. Yeah. So, that's really all I got.
All right. Well, I mean, you stretched it out for an hour, hour and 15 minutes.
You got something on your plate that you have to get off your chest?
No.
I'd be glad to talk about it for a few more minutes.
I feel like Biz. I want to do therapy sessions, but I don't think we have time for it.
Okay.
When you're having invasive thoughts, right? When you're having the thoughts that are like,
I like how you looked out the door to make sure your wife isn't out there.
Could be anybody. When you're, because I'm sure coming off of your history, especially of being an addict, you will occasionally get thoughts in your head that logically are ridiculous. I think X, Y, and Z is happening, but logically this is completely ridiculous. It doesn't add up in any sort of physics supported way.
Yeah.
But it keeps haunting you.
Yeah.
How do you shake that out? How do you just tell your brain fuck off?
I think it's just time. I think a lot of times if I think something is happening,
right,
it's happening.
See, that's the other problem is like if usually your intuition is pretty solid.
Yeah.
But on this one, there's just no way. How do you tell it? Well, no, this is the one where my intuition is going to miss.
Well, you just haven't found the way that it may connect.
Which then makes every single thing that you look at part of the investigation into that thing, even if it's not a thing.
Well, it's over for you because you're an investigator without invasive thoughts. So if you start investigating invasive thoughts, I mean, that's going to consume your whole life.
Yes. Tell me about it.
I think that you probably just have to say the rosary 4 times.
4 times, okay.
3 Our Fathers.
3 Our Fathers.
And donate, 2 weeks' pay to the church.
Okay, that's my penance.
You can drop off. You could just drop off an envelope with 2 weeks' pay to us right back here at the what's the thing?
The gig?
The confessional booth.
Oh, the confessional. Okay.
We'll take it from you.
All right. That sounds like that should work. Yeah.
All right. If you got thoughts that you have to understand, right? You have to. If your reality is that this thing that your intuition is telling you,
right,
is happening,
right,
but your reality isn't telling you that.
The reality
is telling you otherwise.
No, reality makes it actually impossible.
Right.
Right. I think there's a man on the moon staring at me right now. Like, it's absolutely impossible that that's happening, but my brain keeps telling me, look up, look at the moon. You can see him from here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just want stop with the moon thing already.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no mathematical way it could be. But the brain's like, oh, but maybe it is. It's like,
yeah.
Brain.
But it's not.
You gotta start drinking more, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've always found that painkillers numb pretty much anything. They leave you really thinking about not much of anything. They're pretty good for that. I think that you have to. It's just gonna keep. It's just gonna take time.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have any. There's no real if I do this, I'll be in control of that thought.
Right, because it's not. Because it's
not your choice.
It's abstract in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I think my car got stolen, and I look out the window and my car's there. I can be done with that thought.
Are you doing cocaine?
Not currently, but it's been suggested to me in the past.
Because that's a very cocaine attitude. Like, I know that there is not DEA agents outside of my window. Right. They don't care about me and this $20 bag of cocaine. I know they're not out there.
There's no way. And then I can look out the window and they're not out there.
But I'm just going to peek out there real quick anyway.
Sure.
And then you peek out and you go, I think they ducked behind the car.
Did you see that little kid on the bicycle? He didn't look that young.
They're hiding from me. As soon as I sit down, they're going to kick that door in, because I know instead of them being after me and opening my door up 3 hours ago when I started thinking that they're after me.
Right.
They're waiting for just the right moment to kick the door when I least expect it.
They want me to cool out, and then they can catch me sleeping.
Yeah, they're going to do it when I sober up. That's when they're going to kick the door in. Or then you turn around and you go, damn, I did that was too much cocaine tonight.
I got to back that down.
Yeah. Let's not do that much cocaine next time, because
half a bag next time.
Those were obviously all completely fabricated ideas of people creeping through the shadows looking for me. So right now, just lay off the cocaine, man.
All right. I mean, I had not considered that, but now I will.
It's, yeah, or maybe it's the meth. It's one or the other, dude.
Oh, it's not the meth, because I've been doing that for a while.
And everything's fine.
Yeah, and that never cropped up before.
All right. Winning now, Phillies.
7-1 over the Braves.
Didn't the Braves clinch the
I think the Braves
NL East?
I think they're all set. If they haven't, they're very close, and the Phillies can't do anything about that. But I think they'll wind up playing each other in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
So if there's any chance that the Phillies are going to warm up to being able to beat them,
we're dealing with the preview right now.
Yeah, because the Braves are damn good this year. They're twice as good as they were last year, and it was a miracle.
Are they as good as the days when they had Chipper Jones?
No, because
and Tom Glavine.
Because they also had that insane lineup.
And John Smoltz.
John Smoltz.
And David Justice.
And Mike Maddox.
Yeah, that was one I forgot about.
They were bananas, and they didn't win a World Series.
I loved the Braves at that point.
I hated them because they were always boxing the Phillies out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I was pretty open with my love for different teams as a younger man. I love the Phillies.
The antisocial position.
No, listen, I loved the Phils. Right. As a matter of fact, I wore one year number 11 for Mickey Morandini.
Well, there you go.
Right? Because I thought Mickey Morandini was the illest. That's funny to you?
My cousin named his dog Mickey Morandini because he thought he was going to be the illest. The dog lasted longer in town than Mick did.
Yeah. I was and now the older I grow and the the more Dykstra stories I hear,
man,
the more
that's
I
your
love.
boy.
I love Dykstra even more than I did in first grade before the
Nails.
strike. Before the strike, Dykstra was a hero, and
Right.
I love him even more now.
He is full blast banana.
That's a wild boy.
Full blast banana.
He's everything I dream. That's it. You know
That's
what
who
we were
you-
talking about earlier?
That's who you thought you were progressing into.
Listen, what we were
That's the
talking
guy you would
about.
have been looking up to.
If they gave me $1 million
Right.
mid drug addiction, I would have became
You would've
Lenny
been now.
Dykstra. At least lived his lifestyle. I watched a podcast with him on it, and
He's so far gone.
he's a hot boy. Yeah, and he's out of his mind.
Oh, come
And
on.
all he cares about is pussy. I love it.
And
dude.
lizard people. He's a lizard people guy. Him
Oh, I
and,
believe
him and
yeah.
Dutch.
Obviously.
Couple of lizard people guys.
Dutch. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, I loved the Phils in '93
Yeah, so then how can you like the Braves?
because I was indifferent. I wasn't. I was because in '93 I was 7 years old.
Right.
So was I really? How much was I really? I knew if the Phils were going to the playoffs.
Well, they went to the World Series in
Yeah,
'93.
they did.
Yeah,
Goddamn Joe Carter.
that's right.
Yeah, I used to be a sports guy.
Right. Then he got drugs.
Yeah, and then I realized that sports have no relevance in my life. You guys are all wasting your
Neither
emotions
do
on
the drugs
sports.
anymore. Well, you got to put them somewhere.
Yeah,
At
that's
some point,
true.
you numb everything else out. You got to let the emotion out somewhere. And at least if you're crying and screaming about your baseball team, nobody says you're not a man.
That's true. That's true. But how could you not respect the Braves at that point?
I can respect the
Yeah.
hell out of them and also say they really need to fall off the face of the earth because they keep ruining the Phillies' chances.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll never tell you that team wasn't an incredible
They were
team.
phenomenal.
Absolutely.
But the Phils beat them.
I have no problem telling you that Dallas has an incredible football team this year, but they can go fuck themselves too.
Yeah, well, I'll stand by that. I did. I'm going to admit this here on the podcast, but I don't expect any back talk from you.
Okay.
All right,
I'll
and
just lower my mic now.
I don't ever want anybody to bring this up again. But
As long as
yeah,
we're not doing it on the air.
in
Yeah.
the first grade, I was a Dallas Cowboys fan. It lasted for 1 year in first grade, and then I moved on to the Green Bay Packers.
What year are you in first grade?
Probably '93, maybe '92.
Okay. So that's still
They went and played the
that's
Bills.
Aikman, Emmett,
Yeah.
and Irvin years.
Which is the same idea
Yeah.
as
yeah.
as the Braves. Like, man, this team is great.
Right.
They're phenomenal. They got all these players that I love. What's his name? Cox, the defensive end or the linebacker? Who was their big dog on defense that year? Somebody Cox.
Didn't they have Dion on that team?
I think Dion may have still been on the Falcons at that
Okay.
point. No, they had a big
No,
dog.
yeah, you're right. That's too early for Dion. He might not even been in the league.
They had a
yet.
big dog defensive end or outside linebacker who wore the neck brace in the back that poked up
the
like
big
a
high neck break.
yeah. I think it was something Cox, and he was a monster. He was like the precursor to Javon Curse. You know, that kind of guy.
Javon Curse. Let's see. Defensive starters.
I
Well,
also-
there's Charles Haley.
Charles
was on that
Haley's
team.
who I'm thinking
Ken
of.
Norton Jr. was on that team.
Ooh.
They had hitters on that team, and
Yeah.
Darren Woodson was on that team.
Ooh, Darren Woodson
Yeah.
in the secondary,
Yeah, they had hitters.
and was the Moose playing for them? Was he running fullback for them at that point?
Yes, Darryl Johnson was there,
The Moose.
lead blocking for Emmitt Smith.
I mean, they were a hell of a team.
And they had Novacek and Irvin. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were an incredible team. But at least.
Forgot about Novacek.
Well, no, it's the same thing as with the Braves. The Eagles were a really good team at that point, too. So at least the competition between them was legitimate. It wasn't one steamrolling the other one.
I don't remember
That's
too much of the Birds back in the Rich Kotite
That's
days.
the Randall and Reggie White days.
Yeah.
And Jerome Brown.
Yep. Rich Kotite.
I think 93 is more Buddy Ryan. I think that's. No?
I'm telling
already?
you, I remember Rich Kotite getting cursed to the high heavens
Oh.
in my home.
I'm not telling you that he wasn't there and wasn't garbage, but I think at the where you're talking about, I think
I'm
Kotite
telling. I'm
comes in
pretty
after. You
sure
might be right.
92. Come on, dude.
I'm looking.
This is the second one that's the second time you question my 1992 sports knowledge.
I'm happy.
I
to
may
say
not
I'm wrong
have
if I'm
any.
wrong.
Listen, I may not have any other year locked down, but 1992 ESPN knowledge. I watch Sports Center every morning. I got that drilled in my brain. I had to come to school and know what was happening on Sports Center, or Brian Manowitz would have disowned me.
Bastard.
And he was the starting quarterback.
Well,
who was if I was ever going to get a shot to catch a pass as tight end, I had to be in the good graces of Brian Manowitz.
all right. Kotite took over in 91.
And then after him was the angry-looking black guy.
Yep.
What the hell was his name?
Ray Rhodes.
Ray Rhodes. I was going to say Dusty Rhodes.
No, that's the
a
American
wrestler.
Dream.
Yeah. I would have been close.
And then you had the Andy era, which was probably still their greatest era.
Yeah, probably so, with Donovan.
Yep.
And Troy Vincent.
Dawkins is in that era.
Dawkins is playing there.
Yeah.
Troy Vincent is receiving.
He had Lito Shepard over there playing.
Who do we have running back? Did we still have Ricky Waters? No.
I don't think you had Waters, but you had Westbrook.
Westbrook.
Yeah,
he was a beast.
Yeah.
My buddy named his dog Westbrook.
Okay. Yeah, Westbrook was awesome. And he came out of nowhere. He was like 4th, 5th round pick and just incredible pass catching running back.
Yeah. Well, they were running the West Coast offense at that
They
point.
sure were.
Come on, babe. I've become a man, like I said, dude, I've just realized that the Eagles are only going to break my heart.
Well, it's been a couple years
2 years
of that not being true.
2 years out of 38.
Listen,
1 year out of 38, they didn't break your heart.
The change has to start somewhere, and the last couple years have been encouraging. The last year's Super Bowl, obviously want them to win, doesn't break my heart because, in my estimation, they didn't belong there. So just the fact that they were in that Super Bowl is good.
No, dude.
Now they have to follow it up. No, I don't.
If your team doesn't win the Super Bowl, it's a heartbreak.
No,
because
there's not only one team a year that had a great season. That's nonsense.
Because, look, even if you're not expecting them to get there,
right?
Once they get to that NFC Championship,
I want them to get
you're
there.
going, I think we could do it.
Sure.
I think we made it this far. I think we could do it.
But
then what do? They don't do it.
I'm able to temper my expectation, though. I was able to watch the Super Bowl last year when everybody else was going bananas, when they were up going into the half. And I was able to sit there and go, no, this is just like 3 quick plays in a row that went their way. And they're not really dominating this game the way that scoreboard looks. And they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I'm capable of doing that. I know a lot of fans.
It didn't hurt your heart a little bit the next day?
Of course.
Okay, so then you were heartbroken.
No, heartbroken was...
Heart ached.
Heartbroken was when they went with... when they were playing with Donovan against Jake Delhomme against the Panthers, and they should have steamrolled them, and they lost. That was heartbreaking.
Speaking of Panthers, let's talk about Panthers.
Let's do it.
So,
finally.
I just want to I want to leave you with a little bit of zoology.
Good.
Because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
We run the gamut.
Right.
So, in the 1800s,
okay,
the American Eastern puma could have been up to 13,000 or more throughout the southeastern United States.
Population-wise.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the way up the coast, possibly to Virginia.
Okay.
Over time, the southeastern part of the U.S. started to become more and more populated, and these pumas were then concentrated into a small corner of Florida and kind of changed from being the eastern puma to being considered the Florida panther.
Okay.
Also known as the ghost cat.
Right.
Because these are cats that are rarely ever seen.
Right.
Got to the point in the past 5 or 10 years where the Florida panther was estimated to be about 12 to 15 population in the wild.
Just in total, just double digits, not 12 to 15,000.
No, 12 to 15.
Okay.
In this small pocket in the southwest corner of Florida. Basically, Fort Myers and south of that.
Right.
And in the Everglades. Now,
right.
12 of them left. You're on the brink. You are going to be extinct, it seems.
Yeah.
So everybody starts to kind of get worried about it because it's a very enthralling creature.
Sure.
When you see, because we don't have big cats in the U.S. like that, really.
Okay.
Like out west, we got maybe some mountain lions
Yeah.
and some stuff like that. But as far as we're concerned on the East Coast, we don't really have big cats.
No.
You may find a small cat in the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains,
Yeah,
but
you get like the occasional bear cat and stuff like that. Nothing, no massive cats.
Yeah.
No cat that I would see and say, we just got to leave.
yeah. So I saw footage of the ghost cat, the Florida panther. I mean, this is a big cat.
Yeah.
This guy looked to be the size, give or take, of a small Great Dane.
Oh, that seems even small to me from what I know of them.
They're big.
But yeah.
Let's get a look. Let's get a look on their size. Yep, the Florida Panthers, Coco. That's what we're talking. We're ending off with a little zoology.
Like we usually do.
So they are a intriguing animal. To me, at least. Maybe not everybody's intrigued by him, but I was drawn in just by looking at him and the idea that there's a big cat down there in the swamps of Florida. So with the urban sprawl, the suburban sprawl that's plaguing Florida, I'm going to go down there and do my part to also eliminate another acre of the Everglades by
Sure.
being a guy who buys a 1 acre yard with a 2 driveway.
Well, you can't buy the Everglades.
No.
So the cougar, which is the panther, which is the puma,
Yeah.
gets up to 54 inches. So what is that? Just under 6 foot?
6 foot is 72.
Or just under 5?
Just under 5.
Just under 5 foot
Yeah.
and around 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's a and
That's a
they're
Great Dane.
fast.
Yeah.
And they'll smack you in the face without asking a question.
That is a Great Dane.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's guys who have spent their whole career trying to set camera traps
Right.
just to catch them. And they've caught 4 pictures maybe because that's how elusive that these cats are. Now, with the suburban sprawl that keeps stretching out and keeps stretching out, it's stretching into their territory more and more and more, and it's condensing them down.
Yeah.
And they're on this line south of the Tahapalachi
Yeah.
Chapaconda Achapachi
Yeah.
River.
Right.
North of this river, there's an expanse of land that runs up the center of the state and plenty of ground for them to run. A full-grown male Florida panther needs 200 square acres to be able to
Get his proper exercise.
get his thing on.
Okay.
I don't remember if it was 200 square acres, 20 square miles, but it was a very large chunk of land, which
Yeah.
explains why only 12 of them got it going on, because that's 240 square miles just to hold 12 of them.
Right.
So they were like, if we could only get these Florida Panthers north of the Chahachapachachachi,
Mhm.
maybe they have a shot.
They would sprawl back out into this other open land.
Right.
Okay.
And this had been going on. The largest killer of Florida Panthers is car accidents.
Okay.
Cars running them over in this, on the edge of the suburban sprawl,
Right.
where
like,
they're
like deer around here.
basically, which I saw a huge buck today while I was riding. Bigger than I've ever seen here.
Oh, there's a whole big family that lives behind me.
I see deer all the time, but
No, the
I rarely
father,
see
I
a
assume, is
6-point buck.
massive.
Yeah, I don't usually
I
see a
feed
6-pointer.
them when they come out.
Nice.
My dog gets mad at me.
Nice. And then one day, this particular scientist who's been spending his entire life trying to capture shots of the ghost cat
Right.
gets a hit on one of his trail cams by the Chahachapachi,
Okay.
and it's one single female panther crossing the river.
Okay.
Which I guess they didn't expect them to cross the river because they're cats and cats hate water,
Right.
usually.
Yeah.
It's one single female crossing her way over the river named Babs.
Babs. Okay.
Babs got herself north. She must have been pregnant when she took the trip across that river,
Okay.
because since a few years back when Babs has crossed over the Chahachapachi, the population has skyrocketed to 200 cats from 13 just a few years ago.
So you think she's like smuggling smuggling natives over?
I think that she realizes this could all rest on me.
Right.
So even though my mama told me to hold myself in high regard and not go sleeping around with every puma that I meet,
This is the end of the world scenario where you got to repopulate.
you have no choice but to be out here funksing like a rabbit.
Right.
And so that's what she did, and they're starting to repopulate. So now we're at 200 of them. They're north of the Chahachapachi, and it's assumed that the population is going to continue to grow,
To boom a little
albeit maybe slowly, because they're also kind of combating. They're at war with development.
Of course.
And the development is going to keep happening in Florida.
Of course.
But as long as they have that area north of the Chahachapachi, then they can kind of keep expanding, hopefully to the point where they expand so far north that they get themselves back to the Appalachian Mountains.
I'd like to see them start eating humans on the way, to be perfectly honest with you.
It could happen.
I have no sympathy for us as a species if any animal group was to get together and go, you know what?
Let's take them
Let's
out.
go get them.
Yeah.
They screwed this all up for us. Let's return the favor.
Well, the Florida Panthers sure enough could take you out.
Yeah.
So on my agenda of things to do when I get to Florida, my new home,
Right.
running with the Panthers is right there, number 2 below swimming with the manatees.
Okay.
And so we'll see how that all maps out, but that's what I'm shooting for.
I think you should shoot for the Panthers first, just based on the population issues. You may have more time with the manatees than you do with the Panthers.
Well, I also, if I run with the Panthers first, I may not make it to the manatees.
You'll be fine.
You know?
Cats are good people as long as you act appropriately around them.
I'd like to swim with the manatees.
Okay.
Because they're such the gentle sea cow.
Sure, that's what they're known as.
The sea cow. They they used to think they were mermaids.
Right.
Which you can clearly see the resemblance to.
Well, that's why they call them cows now, just so you understand, is fat women.
I could clearly see the resemblance to my ex-girlfriend.
She had a horn?
She was, she turned into a big girl. And she was a mixed girl, so she kind of looked like the new Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Sea cow, mermaid, it all kind of.
Yeah. It's all one big circle.
Exactly.
It's a whole existence.
Swim with the manatees because
200
they're
square miles is what they need.
right.
Which is an
ridiculous.
insane plot of land. But also, all this development keeps pushing out, but all this other development is just abandoned. It's not like we're filling up and pushing out. We're emptying out and moving.
Yeah.
So maybe let's stop.
Well,
Maybe your move before you run with the Panthers is like blow up some construction sites and then go run with the Panthers as like a celebratory thing.
quick side note: I have a new. Did I tell you I have a new friend in Florida, a new riding buddy who I've never yet rode with?
No, you're already making. You're already preparing.
I talked to a guy from a Central Florida dirt bike riders group,
Okay.
and he's, we had a quick little chat a couple times, and he said, "Yeah, well, when you're down here, let me know. We'll go ride."
Right.
And then he started sending me pins on Google, and he's like, "You check this place out. You check this place out." 2 out of the 3 are.
Did he ever live in Delaware?
No, he's from New York. Did he ever live in Delaware?
Pushing religion on you?
Oh, Marty. 2 out of the 3 or 4 places he sent me were neighborhoods that were scheduled to be built, maybe got some dirt roads like carved to set up the neighborhood streets, and then abandoned. Huge, acres and acres and acres of places that were supposed to be neighborhoods. Swim with the manatees, run with the Panthers, and the third thing on that list is catch.
Get high with space. Space goes perp.
I've already done that. Me and him go way back to when I lived in Florida the first time. Catch a Goliath grouper, a.k.a. the Jewfish.
Okay. Well, I don't appreciate that name, but sure.
I'm just saying, that's what they were once called, the Jewfish, and they changed the name to the grouper.
Yeah, because now the gefilte fish is the Jewfish. So.
That's or whitefish. Yeah, for sure. But have you seen the footage of guys fishing for Goliath grouper?
No, I have not.
Woo! Daddy, it's unreal the size of these creatures.
I'm looking at them now. Just the scuba diver who's swimming next to it is behind it, and you can't see the scuba diver.
Yeah. You need...
What are you catching? Like, what's the rod and reel combination that pulls one of them out of the... Well, I mean, people catch sharks
crane.
and whatnot. Yeah.
You got to have a construction crane with a big hook on it.
And a big weight on the other side just to balance you out.
Yeah. I mean, those things come in at 700 pounds.
Yeah.
They're unreal.
They're big boys.
You're basically, for those suckers, you're fishing off the dock with hot dogs. They're like fish. It's like fishing for sunnies.
Right.
Just on a grand scale.
Except for all the sunnies at once.
Yeah. You're fishing off the dock. You just got to make sure you got to have the vest that your rod plugs into.
Right.
Like, because in reality, dude, to me, if he decides to swim off and you run out of line,
he's gone.
You got to make a quick choice on whether you're going to get pulled in and dragged out to sea by a Goliath grouper, or you're going to give up that rod and let it go.
Oh, it's literally the phrase "cut bait." You're going to take your little pocket knife, cut the line, and say, good luck, sir.
Bye-bye, grouper.
Great fight. Maybe next time.
Yeah, I mean, they're wild. So as much as I don't really care for fishing, I would definitely love to see a grouper on the end of my rod.
Hook up one of those and then a swordfish and then call it a day.
That's different from wanting to see a groupie on the end of my rod.
Yeah, it's a different rod. It's a different species, the whole thing.
But should I, we've already discussed, should I make $10,000 a month that I could put in my wife's account, then maybe I will see a groupie on the end of my rod.
Yeah.
Until then, I'll settle for a grouper. This dickhead that you have pulled up on the screen, hang on to that thought, because I dislike him enough and he irks me enough that I will be just as angry to talk about him next week also.
Right. I keep it in the pocket.
Victor Coco, thank you for participating in class today. It would be nice if your classmates saw that and followed accordingly and raised their hand and added to today's lecture, but they're over there lurking in the shadows, and that's fine too. We don't hate you for it. We're glad that you came through. There he is. Psilocybin's in the building. I figured he was here hiding in the cut. We will be back here next Monday at 8:30 with another full show. A lot more talk of
fish,
the same old stuff.
Sure, pretzels.
Yeah. What we're just trying to entertain you.
We're just looking for our lane.
We're just trying to give you something to drive to work to. And if you drive to work listening to us, when you get to work, tell your boss. Bring it up at the Thursday morning meeting. Hey, Mr. Antonelli, I'd like to I think things are going well. We did have a problem with the peanut butter machine, the hot fudge and peanut butter machine, but they came and fixed it last week. I just want to maybe recommend or suggest that rather than playing this Phil Collins on repeat, the greatest,
no shade to Phil Collins,
the greatest hits of yacht rock over the speaker, I would maybe we can try and put the gig on, and then Mr. Antonelli's gonna look at you and he's gonna say, "What the hell is the gig?" At which point you say, "Mr. Antonelli, the gig is the